Thank you. Good afternoon. How you all doing? My name's Lee Stafford. I'm going to be your host for the next 30 minutes. I want to tell you a little story before we start because it's very relevant to the success of the next 30 minutes for you guys. I started my hairdressing career in my mum's dining room. I cut hair in that dining room for the first 6 years of my craft without any education, which I wouldn't recommend. The only haircut I learned how to do was a short back and sides with a pair of clippers, badly. And my father kept saying to me, you can't cut hair in your mum's dining room all your life, son, and he was right. So I started to look for a little salon in my local area of Essex, and then I panicked. I thought, how could I be a salon owner or a hairdresser if the only haircut that I could do was this dodgy, bad, short back and sides? So I made a decision. I needed to get myself properly educated. And that's when I started going on loads of courses. And when I used to go on these courses, just like you guys are on right now, I was taking valuable time out of my life, a precious commodity. So I'd always like to make the most out of it. So I used to ask lots and lots of questions. And when I used to go on the bus, I used to think to myself, I'm driving them people mad on stage, keep asking all those questions, but I thought, sod it, I'm there to learn. And I just wish someone would have told me what I'm about to tell you right now, because they never hated me being in that room asking questions. On the contrary, they loved me being in there asking questions, because asking questions makes their job easier up here, and it makes the whole experience more educating and entertaining. So the moral of the story is, guys, I'm with you for 30 minutes. If anyone's got any questions about what we're doing up here or what we're doing with the college, Lee Stafford Education, put your hands up, ask a question, and I won't make you feel silly at all, I promise. So what we're going to be doing on stage today, we're going to be sharing with you one of the recipes that we teach at Lee Stafford Academy. This recipe is called the Twisted Tong. So it's kind of like a really modern way of how to lay a hair. It's really simple, it's really easy, fast, and really effective. Once you've seen this recipe, I'm sure you can do it on yourself immediately or any of your friends and family. So I've got two students that are going to come up here and do the recipe with me, and that is Hannah and Joanna. So Pika, Amelia. So girls, would you come up and bring your models? Let's give them a round of applause. And also my model, which is Yasmin. Come up, Yasmin. So are you girls just going to crack on with the recipe? You've already started, yeah? So you just crack on, yeah? Okay, so this recipe, when you're using any tongs on the hair, always use lots of protection, yeah? So we're going to spray some protection spray into this first. What we're going to do, we're going to section Yasmin's, is that where you have your parting? About there, yeah? No, we'll have it there, right? So that's where Yasmin's natural parting is. So we're going to leave it there. We're going to separate the front from the back. So just using a clip as a sectioning tool. We've already got the front sectioned off into two, where Yasmin's natural parting is. And then we're going to section off down the back. So we've got 4 sections. So what I want to do first of all is just show you the benefit and the difference of using this twisted tong. So let's get my tong. This is the Lee Stafford long tong, because it's great for long hair. So what I'm going to share with you first of all is a conventional way of how to do like a wrap tong. So when you do a wrap tong, you just wrap it around the hair, nice and simple, like this. And the rule of thumb is, when you're tonging hair, leave it on for about 10 seconds. You don't need to leave it on any longer than 10 seconds. If you want something that's much softer, like that Kate Moss kind of vibe, where there's just a bit of movement in the hair, you might leave it on for 5 seconds. You can always touch it with your finger just to make sure it's gone through the whole of the hair. So with a classic wrap tong, you get that classic spiral kind of effect, which is good, but this is the difference with the Twisted Tong, which both of the young ladies have been doing here. This is the first time you've tried it, right, this morning? Yeah? And how long have you been doing hair now? Not even a year, right? And how did you find this technique? Good, yeah, was it easy to do? Yeah, cool. Okay, so what we do with the Twisted Tong is we twist it first of all. So we don't keep twisting it, we just get our hand and we twist it 180 degrees like that. So we twist it just the once, and as we wrap it around the hair, we twist it. That's why it's called the Twisted Tong, yeah? We're not worrying about going too close to the roots, so we're not going to burn anybody's head, and we're not worrying about the ends either. We're leaving the ends out, which gives it that kind of modern, contemporary kind of feeling with the wave. So I'm just using my fingers. Again, what the young lady's doing over there is she's taking it out of the tong and she's leaving it in her hand to cool down. And that's the best way. If you want a curl to really grip and really last, the best way to do it is to keep the curl in your hand to cool down. So as we take this out, you can see the difference. This one gives you more of a spiral curl, but by twisting it, you get more of that vintage wave. So what we're going to do, as we work through this, you can see the girls are doing this, we're just going to shake it out as we go. And the benefit of that is that when you get to the end, the dressing's already done. There's no dressing for you to do as you're working the dressing as you go through the look. So we're taking horizontal sections the whole way through this. We're keeping the tong horizontal, twisting it, and we're twisting it around the hair like that. How are you getting on? Yeah? So you can see there, we're leaving it in the hand and letting that curl just cool off. I'm not going to do that, which will mean it will be slightly looser. I'm going to take it off and just shake it out straight away, which means I'm going to have a slightly softer effect because I'm pulling it out straight away. So who's got some questions for me? Anyone got any questions? Yes, young lady. I can't hear. What's the question?
Why did you want to create your own hair products, and what is the most
Why
popular?
did I want to create them? That's a good question. And if I'm brutally honest, I never thought about creating my own hair care range. I came from a small little suburban town in Essex. I left school at 15, unfortunately without any qualifications. I cut hair on Mum's dining room for the first 6 years of my career. I never thought for 1 minute that I would ever have my own product range, to be quite honest with you. If I can do it, then everyone in this room could have their own product range. But what happened was I ended up winning this big award, Men's British Hairdresser of the Year, and there was a brand guy in the audience who approached me after and said, would you consider doing your own product range? Well, the minute that someone said that to me, I got very excited and came up with lots of ideas, and one thing led to another. But, and to be quite honest with you, the minute that I was asked, would I ever consider it, the first thing that came into my head, because at the time, I was 31 years old, I was a reasonably young man, and the first thing I thought was, well, if I'm going to do a product range, I want to do a designer hair care range for the youth of Great Britain, because up until that point, no one had ever done anything for the youth. It had all been sort of targeted at a more mature audience. So straight away, that was the strategy. And as soon as we had that strategy, we kind of based everything around it. But thank you for that question, young lady. That was a very good question. So as we're working up the head now, as we work above the ear, we're dragging this down so that my tongue is on the ear. And the benefit of that is we start to get a lot of root drag, which is just going to make this whole shape look quite lazy and quite loose. Keep feeling it with my finger. So this has been quite a simple technique so far. We're just taking horizontal sections as we work up the head. We're keeping the tongue horizontal and we're twisting it every time. And we're going to carry on with this method until we just get round the front, and then it changes. What are the questions you got for me, guys? Anyone got any questions for me?
What is the Lee Stafford Academy exactly like?
What is the Lee Stafford Academy? Well, that is a good question. Thank you for that question. How it came about is I've been involved in the private sector of hair education for a long, long time now. And when I used to send my young people, my assistants to college in my area, we was never happy with the standard that was happening in Essex. And I felt that the public side of hair education, the college side of hair education, and I know there are exceptions to the rule, and there are some really good colleges out there, but they had been letting young people down for decades in this country. And everyone in the industry, all the hairdressers complain about it, but no one was really doing anything about it. So I decided, well, if no one's doing anything about it, maybe if I work with like-minded colleges, really good colleges, we can start to make college hair training as good as what's happening in the private sector. So basically what we've done at Lee Stafford Education, we've designed all these recipes like the Twisted Tong you're seeing up here, all really simple, quick, effective recipes that young people can learn, be inspired by, and go out into the real world and get jobs and earn money. So, in a nutshell, that's what it was about. But thank you for that question. So, just tapping it with my finger every time, just to test that that heat's gone all the way through, unwrapping it off, giving it a shake. So, as you can see, as we're working this through, we're dressing it out as we go. This will be my last section on top. Just running my fingers through, twisting it. The tongue's going to be parallel with the top of the ear. We're not concerning ourselves with the ends, which means that you won't burn your fingers, which is always good. But also, it's going to give us a nice modern feeling. Because when you take this out, the ends of the hair are going to be slightly straighter, which all adds to that kind of contemporary wave. Doing very well there, young lady, aren't she? First time, and how are you doing? Wow, look at that. That looks amazing. Well done. So we're going to go on to the sides now, and the sides is going to be exactly the same method up to the recession now. So I'm pulling it out, twisting it, tongue, wrapping it around. Anyone got any more questions for me? Yes, young lady.
Which is your most popular product and why?
Oh, well, do you know what? When I first launched my product range in boots, you kind of feel like you've won the lottery. You start going out looking at houses in the Hamptons and you start test driving Ferraris. You get very carried away with yourself. And then you quickly realise you've been thrown into the gladiator's ring with this little toothpick. And there's all these giants coming at you with these huge swords. And we was in boots for 6 months, and I got called up to the head office in boots. And I thought naively I was going to go up to boots and drink tea and talk about hair, but that wasn't the case. They basically said to me, if you don't double your sales in the next 6 months, you're out. So 1 minute I was looking at houses in the Hamptons, and the next minute it was cardboard boxes outside Piccadilly Circus. But luckily enough, in that 6 month period, we brought out this product. No, not that one. We brought out this one, heat protection. We were the first people in the world to bring out a product that protected your hair against heat. And this one product trebled our sales overnight and stopped us getting kicked out of boots. So that was my number one product for many, many years. But then what happened is I reinvented dry shampoo. We were the first people in the world to reinvent dry shampoo. And then that started to overtake that product. Then we spearheaded the hair growth movement. And then hair growth became our number one product. And recently, our number one product is the Bleach Blonde's Purple Shampoo, which tones blonde hair, making it sort of really, well, it takes all the yellow brassiness out of blonde hair and makes it look like this, nice and white. Did you use it? There you go. I never knew that, did I? Right? So this is a classic example of my Bleach Blonde toning shampoo. It just really makes the blondes nice and white. That was good. Give me a high five for that. So we're now going to continue up to the recession on both sides, doing exactly the same method. Twisted, ear, leaving the ends out. Any more questions, guys? You've covered up some good questions.
What is the best thing about your job?
The best thing about my job, that is a good question. Well, hairdressing, I don't know whether you guys are familiar with this, but hairdressing, they did an independent study on happiness in the workplace. Now, this wasn't a study that the hairdressing industry did. This was an independent study. And what this independent study found, out of all those thousands of jobs that you could possibly pick, this independent study found that hairdressing was the happiest profession you could possibly be in. And they found that 3 years in a row. And it's because of many reasons. I mean, when you do hairdressing, you make so many friends. I mean, because you're doing 15 clients every day, you know, how many is that a week? You know, they all become your best mates. So can you imagine doing 15 of your best mates every day? I mean, that's a really good feeling, right? Also, the hairdressing salon is a really nice environment to work in. It's not like being in a kitchen where your customers are out in the restaurant so you can shout and scream and throw pots and pans at one another and it's really hot. The salon environment is where your customers are. So it's at the perfect temperature. It's got the best music, you know, and because your customers are in the salon with you, everyone has to behave, you know, so it's a very nice environment. Not only that, learning the craft of hairdressing is a very lifelong journey. And it can be frustrating but it can be very, very rewarding as well when you start to get it right. And of course, once you start making a name for yourself in hairdressing, I mean, these days you can travel the world, you know, you can become rich and famous doing hair now, you know. There's so many reasons what makes the job so good and what makes it the happiest profession to be in. I mean, I'm no Dalai Lama, right? But one thing I do know is happiness is pretty important. Wouldn't you agree? So, yeah, thank you for that question. That's a really good question. So as we get to the front now the method is going to change. Everything was done horizontally up the head until we got to the ear. When we get to the front, we now change our sectioning pattern, and the section, the tongue now goes on a diagonal. My body is standing behind, and we dress this away from the face now. Any more questions for me, guys? Yes, young lady.
What do you feel influences the current style trends of 2019?
Say that again.
What do you feel influences the current style trends of 2019?
That's a really good question, and we was talking about this the other night. We do a Facebook Live the first Sunday of every month around my house, and this time I had some really young barbers that were in the audience with me. And both of them have got quite big followings on Instagram. One of them had 220,000. The other one was a young girl, 22. She's a barber, and I think she's got about 70,000 followers on Instagram. And we was talking about that exact thing, because I think like 10 years ago, celebrities really used to influence, you know, what was happening in the salons and how we wear our hair. And don't get me wrong, I think celebrities still do influence in some shape or form, but really I think it's Instagram now that's influencing a lot of how we wear our hair, because we're following so many hairdressers, so many people that are involved in the fashion industry, that I think that's probably overtaken celebrities now, social media. And that's the great thing about being young now, being in this industry. Back in my day, the only way you could really get yourself noticed was either winning awards or getting gigs on telly. Where these days, a lot of the young people that are making names for themselves are doing it for Instagram. And this one guy called Josh LaMonica, he's about 27 years old, he's a barber. Because he's got 250,000 followers on Instagram, and they're all over the world, he's now, I mean, he was telling me that last year, he did 50 different countries, traveling around the world, and this was all through Instagram. People seeing his work on Instagram and booking him to do events. Thank you for that question. How are you getting on, girls? So now you can finish this off in many, many different ways. We could brush this out if we wanted it to be sort of more glamorous. I'm just going to run my fingers through it, just to kind of make it look a bit more beachy. And I'm going to use some Lee Stafford sea salt spray on this. And there's two ways you can use this. You can spray it directly onto the hair like this, or you can spray it into your hands and let your hands waste not, want not, right? So if any of you guys are interested in a career in hair, please speak to some of the trainers here. They've got their hands up. So if anyone's interested in a career in hair, please go and see them people. The Lee Stafford Academy is here in Wales, and we're teaching all the Lee Stafford recipes in that academy. So yeah, I hope to see you in the academy. You've been a great audience. The girls have done a great job, wouldn't you agree? Yes, we give them a round of applause. Thank you for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you very much. Well done, young lady. Well done.